So wouldn't you know it, episode 6 maintains the Acolyte tradition that each new episode be worse than the one before it. Yes, some people suggested that episode 5 was a better episode because there were a few lightsaber fights. I mean, come on. The fights had no setup, no context, and no reason to happen except that all the characters just luckily happened to be on the same planet at the same time. It was Leslie Headland trying to recreate the Red Wedding vibe or something in Star Wars, just hoping that the death of so many Jedi in one episode would shock everyone. If Leslie Headland was paying attention, even minimal attention to her own show, she'd notice that no one gives a damn about any of her characters. Not even her own characters care about her characters. Did you notice that no one looked for Kelnaka? How does Saul even know that he's dead? How does anyone know that he's dead besides May? Our Star Wars She-Hulk didn't even take the time to check on Kelnaka. I mean, what racist Jedi we have. The level of incompetence in this show is not even measurable. In this video, I'm going to point out some of the biggest reasons why the entire Acolyte series, along with episode 6, is easily one of the worst shows on TV.
Peter, it's making me watch!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Poprageous. Disney is like a dumb, gullible rich kid who gets talked into spending vast amounts of money on things with a near zero chance of succeeding.
Oh, you are way more fun than my last lawyer?
There is a growing list of Marvel and Star Wars movies and TV shows where Bob Iger and his team have thrown massive, and I mean massive amounts of money into, only to lose millions, hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office, or a TV show that lost millions of viewers. But there is no show as bad as The Acolyte, although She-Hulk comes close. And actually, come to think of it, there are a couple of shows that are kind of close in the running. But The Acolyte is a TV show that looks like its budget was a fraction of the $180 million they actually spent on it. Despite the massive budget, Leslie Headland could not make The Acolyte any better than an average B-level show on CW. I mean, episode 6 screams utter garbage and is an embarrassment to anyone associated with it. The first disastrous failure in The Acolyte is the abysmal world building. Basically, there is none. At the start of episode 6, we find ourselves on the Sith's world, the unknown planet they call it. Is there a reason why it's called the unknown planet? I guess maybe we'll find out. That's sort of the only mystery we have right now in The Acolyte. What's the name of this damn planet? But instead of the world having the feel you might expect from a Sith, we see a bright and sunny place with beautiful pools to swim in, cute animals, and lush green rocky islands. So do you remember what Mordor looked like in Lord of the Rings? I mean, it magnified everything that you would associate with an evil Dark Lord. A rock-infested place with a complete lack of life, billowing dark clouds with Mount Doom in the middle of it all spewing lava. Now, I'm not saying this is what we have to have from a Sith planet. I mean, far from it. But what this world should do is give us a feeling that amplifies who he is and what he represents so that it can reinforce his place in the story to the audience.
Logical decision, logically arrived at.
But the biggest issue with the world building are the sets that look like they're straight out of a soap opera. And it's basically every indoor set. They look like they've been built on a soundstage, which they have, but the idea is when you build a set, not to make it look like it's been built on a soundstage. And they feel more like a Doctor Who set from the 1980s, I mean, remember those? Than a big budget Star Wars TV show. Not even the dialogue, the costumes, or special effects provide any sort of realistic impression of this universe that the characters inhabit.
Well, for a man that don't go healed, you run your mouth kind of reckless, don't you?
For a TV show to be successful, the production team needs to create believable worlds with distinct moods and environments for the audience to buy into. It has always been the cornerstone that has made Star Wars the addictive universe that it is. So the second thing that sticks out egregiously is the tone and theme, or the complete lack of either in the case of The Acolyte. When you write a screenplay or a multi-episode TV series, One of the first things you have to do is nail down the tone and theme for the show that you're writing. Every scene, character, main storyline, and subplot will become affected by them and underpin the entire story and every episode.
Go on.
This allows the writer to fine-tune the dialogue and characters so that they fit into the world that they're creating, to give the production crew a focus on developing sets and the worlds that the characters will visit, how the characters will interact, and ideas to bring conflict into the show. The Acolyte has no identifiable tone or theme. I mean, it basically tries to be everything all at once, and it never succeeds at achieving even any emotional consistency. It's emotionally dead, it's stale, and void of any flavor.
Isn't that a daisy?
We could care less what happens to any of the characters, and I mean any of them. And this is proven by the fact that so many characters died in episode 5, like what was it, 6 or 7? And no one even gives a damn. When I say the name Darth Vader, you immediately get an unmistakable impression of the universe that he inhabits. He feels real, he feels alive. When I say Queerum or Soul, we feel nothing, because the show failed to develop any impression of the universe that they inhabit. The very first time that we saw Darth Vader, we felt everything that he represents. It was unmistakable. Tone and theme are critical and made Star Wars what it was until Disney got their paws on it, they purchased it, and began destroying the franchise. They got their teeth deep into the Force's female saying, and they have never looked back since.
Stupid is, stupid does, sir.
But the most critical thing that ensured the Acolyte would be an absolute train wreck, well, it's the writing, which is word for word some of the worst scripts ever written. A great script will clearly define its central conflict, and after 6 episodes of The Acolyte, we can't even identify what the main conflict is. A great script will also create a protagonist that the audience will cheer for, worry about, and sympathize with. Luke Skywalker is the perfect example. After 6 episodes, we're not even sure if Saul is the main character or if Osha and May are. That's because there is no central conflict defining their roles and their motivations. We don't know what they're after, what their goal is, or what the purpose of the story is even supposed to be. A great script will develop an antagonist that we love to hate. Again, think Darth Vader and the beautiful setup George Lucas created between him and Luke Skywalker.
Put it on visual.
In The Acolyte, we have Queerum, a Sith Lord who comes across as actually kind of like semi-likable. There is nothing that makes him a villain, and we have no idea why he's the antagonist in the story. I mean, how many people did he kill last episode, and we still do not look at him as a bad guy? The show has utterly failed to tell the audience the critical story information, so instead, the story just clumsily lumbers forward without a purpose. The story lacks an all-consuming villain who feels undefeatable and will stop at nothing to destroy the protagonist. Basically, The Acolyte is missing all the things that make a TV show a story. Now, there are so many other reasons why The Acolyte is a disaster of a TV show. The dialogue does nothing but state the obvious and uses simple sentences with repetitious banter that lacks subtext and meaningful human interactions. The Acolyte is like a children's story that is nothing more than a collection of basic scenes with grade school level dialogue that adds nothing to build the world or to create any mystery or subtext for conflict and tension. Because of this, every episode of The Acolyte has to make up a reason for the story to exist. It creates nothing but a series of random events strung together to form a disjointed and uninteresting story. It feels like a documentary-style paint-by-numbers story where the characters do things void of purpose with no emotional reason for anything that they do. These are character motivations, and in The Acolyte, they can change every time the plot needs them to. The characters are nothing more than cardboard cutout placeholders with no depth to make them feel real, and a story that gives them no reason to exist. This show has nothing to offer its audience, even with a budget that could have saved the lives of a few 100,000 starving children. But instead, we have 8 episodes of season 1 of The Acolyte. There is no way that Leslie Headland can watch all 8 episodes of The Acolyte and honestly say to herself, yup, this was the exact vision that I had for this show. Because if it is, I have no desire to see any more story ideas that are in her head. I've seen enough of what's inside Leslie Headland's mind, and it's proven to be less than impressive, nor is it even mildly interesting. And that's all I have to say about The Acolyte in episode 6, and I will see you in our next video. Cheers!